Wait until you discover what this waitress revealed to a millionaire that changed everything. The clattering of dishes filled the air, a symphony of bustling plates and sizzling grills. Sarah, a 28-year-old waitress, darted between tables in the cramped diner, her heart heavy yet hopeful. Her hands moved quickly, pouring coffee, refilling water glasses, balancing plates of comfort food. Each customer was a story, every smile a moment of warmth. But beneath her cheerful facade, Sarah was juggling 2 jobs and shouldering the weight of her ailing mother's medical bills. Life was hard, but her spirit remained unbroken. One sunny afternoon, as fluorescent lights flickered above and the smell of bacon danced in the air, Tom entered. Dressed in a flashy suit, he seemed to radiate success, yet a shadow of emptiness clung to him. Sarah noticed how his eyes betrayed a hidden sorrow, as he sat alone, scrolling through his phone while sipping coffee. Intrigued, she felt compelled to approach him. "Hey there, how's your day going?" she asked, her voice bright and inviting. Tom looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Just another day in paradise," he replied dryly, his smile failing to reach his eyes. As the diner buzzed around them, Sarah overheard him on a phone call. Words like failure and lost slipped through her ears, echoing in her heart. She could feel his frustration, the burden of success that felt more like a curse. Having struggled for so long, Sarah felt an unexpected kinship with this lonely businessman. With courage ignited from empathy, she shared her own story, the sacrifices she made for her mother, the late nights spent pouring coffee to keep their heads above water. "Success isn't just the money you make," she said softly, her eyes shining with conviction. "It's the love and the people we surround ourselves with." Tom listened intently, as if her words were a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea. In that moment, he felt a flicker of purpose reignite within him, but just as quickly simmered into doubt. Perhaps he had been defining success all wrong. Days turned into weeks, and their connection deepened. Sarah and Tom found laughter in shared coffee breaks and whispered dreams. Yet outside those diner walls, Tom's life crumbled. His latest business venture crashed, and he spiraled into a dark place, the weight of his material world feeling even heavier than before. Sarah felt it too, the significance of community pressed up against the harsh realities of capitalism. One day, amidst the clatter of forks and chatter, Sarah felt a surge of bravery. She faced Tom, urging him to embrace authenticity over profits, to rediscover who he was beneath his tailored suits. "You're so much more than your bank account," she said, her heart pounding. "Maybe you're right," he said, searching her eyes for reassurance. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The diner buzzed with the energy of new beginnings. Together, they forged plans for a community project, something to bridge the gap between their worlds. As they brainstormed, Sarah's phone buzzed with urgency. A text from her mother's doctor sent a chill through her. Panic gripped her heart, uncertainty swelling like a tidal wave. The dream of a brighter future loomed over her, testing the very foundations of her hope. Would Tom rise to the occasion and support her now as her world threatened to crumble? Or would he slip back into the shadows of his old life? As she faced him, the question lingered in the air, a tender yet perilous moment that could change everything. The moment stretched between them, heavy with unvoiced questions. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing her fear and hope in equal measure. She had always been the strong one, had always carried the burdens of her life alone. But as she looked into Tom's eyes, she wondered if this time he might be the one to help her stand. "Sarah," he said softly, breaking the silence, "what did the doctor say?" She hesitated, her throat tightening. "I don't know yet. It's just urgent." She fiddled with the edge of the order pad in her apron, feeling the weight of her vulnerabilities. "I'm scared, Tom. I can't do this alone. Tom shifted in his seat, the usual confidence he wore slipping slightly. Listen, I know it feels huge right now, but you don't have to face it all by yourself. Let us handle it together. The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket. In that instant, Sarah felt a flicker of hope ignite within her chest. She didn't often let people in, but something about Tom felt different. This wasn't just a wealthy businessman, he was beginning to understand the struggles of everyday life, the nuances that bound people together. Okay, she said, her voice trembling slightly but resolute. We can face this together. They decided to meet at the hospital later that day. With every passing minute, Sarah's anxiety grew. She had always dreaded the sterile walls of hospitals, each room a reminder of her mother's declining health. Yet, a part of her felt lightened by the promise of support. When they arrived, the bright fluorescent lights felt harsh, illuminating the fear etched on her mother's face as she lay in the hospital bed. An overwhelming sadness washed over Sarah, but she drew strength from Tom's presence beside her. Hey, Mom, she said softly, taking her mother's hand. I brought someone to meet you. Her mother's eyes flicked toward Tom, and for a moment, the concern faded and was replaced by a weak smile. Hi, honey, she rasped, taking in Sarah's strained expression. Everything okay? Just a checkup, Sarah replied, trying to sound cheerful. She could feel Tom shift closer, placing a supportive hand on her back. As the doctor entered with a clipboard, Sarah's heart thudded. Uncertainty hung in the air, underlined by the weight of every word before they were even spoken. The doctor explained the treatment options, detailing everything with clarity, but it felt like a cacophony of words swirling around Sarah's mind, drowning out her composure. Tom squeezed her shoulder, grounding her in that overwhelming moment. We'll get through this, he whispered, just for her. She wanted to believe it, but what if her mother's condition took another turn for the worse? A knot formed in her stomach, twisting painfully. And what if Tom's newly discovered purpose faltered under the weight of this reality? Once they left the room, Sarah turned to him, her eyes wide with fear. What if we don't find a way to fix this? Tom's brow furrowed. Fixing isn't always the answer. Sometimes, it's just about being there, being present for each other. As they stood at that crossroads of uncertainty, Sarah caught a glimpse of something profound in his eyes, a willingness to dive into the deep waters of her life, no matter how treacherous they seemed. But before they could embark on this journey together, Sarah received another text, and this one was a bombshell. Her hands trembled as she read the words that would alter the course of everything she thought she understood. Tom, I need you to see this. His eyes widened as he leaned in closer, searching her face in disbelief. What had she just uncovered? Would this be the moment that changed everything once again? Tom's breath caught in his throat as he read the message over Sarah's shoulder. The words blurred momentarily and then snapped into focus like a camera adjusting to light. An ache blossomed in his chest, it said more than it revealed. What is it? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Sarah's finger hovered over the screen, her knuckles whitening from gripping the phone too tightly. It's from my mom's doctor, she said, anxiety curling around her words. He says there are some results coming in that could change everything. The urgency of those words pulsed like a heartbeat between them. Sarah's heart raced along with the anxiety that seemed to swell in the sterile hospital air. What did it mean? Were they prepared for anything that might come next? Is it bad? Tom pressed gently. His eyes, usually so brimming with confidence, were clouded with worry. He placed a firm hand on her back, the warmth anchoring her as her body trembled with impending dread. I don't know, she admitted, feeling the familiar wave of doubt crash over her. But we should see the doctor before we jump to conclusions. With a quick nod, Tom guided her toward the nurse's station. Each step felt heavier than the last, like they were moving through syrup. The fluorescent lights washed over them, a stark reminder of the reality they were confronting. Time seemed to stand still as they waited for answers. Finally, they were led to a small consultation room. The doctor entered with a serious expression, the clipboard still clutched tightly to his chest. "Thank you both for coming," he said, his voice steady but not without empathy. "I know this is a difficult time for you." Sarah clenched Tom's hand, squeezing it as though it were a lifeline. "What are the results?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The doctor took a breath, glancing between them. "Your mother's test results show some alarming indicators. We need to discuss treatment options, but—" The words hung in the air. Sarah felt a sharp pang in her chest. "But what?" she urged, her desperation spilling into her tone. The doctor continued, "But it's crucial we secure a plan as soon as possible. I've seen patients in worse conditions rally back with the right approach, but time is of the essence." Sarah's heart sank. What does that mean for her? More tests. An immediate change in her care plan, the doctor said, his eyes meeting hers steadily. To Sarah, it felt like falling into an abyss. Tom tightened his grip, a silent promise of solidarity. They shared a glance, a moment that whispered the reality of their circumstances. They were in this together, yet, as soon as the doctor left, Sarah's phone buzzed again, piercing the quiet storm swirling in her chest. She glanced at the screen, and this time her breath caught for a different reason. "Who is it?" Tom asked, peering at her curiously. "It's Dad," she whispered, confusion clouding her expression. "He never reaches out unless it's important." "Open it," he encouraged, still holding her hand. With trembling fingers, Sarah read the message. Chains of the past rattled in her mind, memories unevenly stacked like an old deck of cards. "What does it say?" Tom pressed, eyes searching her face. "He's back in town and wants to see me." Her heart raced again, but this time it was a mix of uncertainty and a dash of dread. Would her father bring chaos into their fragile world? She had thought he was out of their lives for good. "Do you want to meet him?" Tom's voice was steady, but she could feel the tension in the air. The thought churned her stomach. Unresolved issues, painful memories. "I don't know," she admitted, her mind racing. Trust. Reconciliation. Would she open the door to a past she had fought to escape? "Sarah, whatever you decide, I'm here for you," Tom said, a soft sincerity in his warmth. In that moment, a new weight settled over her. They were on the cusp of facing two pivotal elements of her life, her mother's fragile health and the unexpected reappearance of her father. Would she choose to confront or retreat? As she glanced up at Tom, hope mixed with trepidation flickered in her heart. "I need to think," she said softly, frustration bubbling just below the surface. The choices ahead spun like a dizzying dance, and she couldn't shake off the feeling that everything was about to change. "Just don't take too long," Tom replied, a hint of playfulness breaking through the heaviness. "You have $1 million decision to make here." Sarah couldn't help but let a small laugh escape, though it held a note of anxiety. But behind that laughter lurked a deeper question. What exactly did it mean to confront your past when your future was hanging in the balance? The hospital room felt more like a cage than a sanctuary as Sarah's thoughts spiraled. She could feel Tom's presence beside her, grounding yet unsettling. The words from her father echoed in her mind. "Wants to see me." What could be so important after all this time? Would it be an apology, an excuse, or something more? With a deep breath, she closed her eyes, trying to block out the noise of the buzzing fluorescent lights and the distant beeping of monitors. The ache in her chest tightened. This was not just about her mother anymore. It was about her past, her choices, her relationship with the man who had left them behind. What if he's just back to stir up trouble? She said, half to herself and half to Tom. The words escaped her lips sharp and quick, her anxiety painting every thought darker than before. "He's still your father, Sarah. There must be a reason he wants to see you," Tom replied, his voice calm yet insistent. "But you have to choose what's right for you." His reassurance felt like a soft quilt against her racing mind, but it didn't erase her turmoil. She wanted to challenge him, argue, but uncertain where to direct her anger. Taking a moment to breathe, she met Tom's steady gaze. I can't handle drama right now, especially not with Mom's health hanging over us," Sarah said, the tears brimming in her eyes. "It's like everything is collapsing at once, and I don't know which way to turn." "Then maybe you don't have to turn at all," Tom suggested gently. "You can face one challenge at a time." His wisdom seemed simple yet profound, and she was grateful he was in her corner. The thought of asking her father for help felt treacherous. After years of silence, how could she even begin to bridge the gap? Memories thrashed through her mind like stormy waves: her childhood laughter, the feeling of betrayal when he left, the tension in their home that made everything more fragile. Could she really invite that chaos back into her life? Sarah took a shaky breath, regaining a little composure. What if he hasn't changed? What if he just wants to make things worse? Her voice cracked, vulnerable and raw. Then you can walk away. You're not obligated to anything, Tom said, his hand still clasping hers. The warmth felt reassuring, a reminder of how far she had come. But inside, she yearned for answers that only her father could provide. The unanswered questions clung to her like shadows. What motivated him after so long? It felt like opening a long-lost book that might be filled with both treasures and curses. Just then, a nurse popped her head in, breaking the heavy moment. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need to check on Mrs. Green," she said, giving them a polite smile. "If you want to talk to Dr. Kendrick again, he'll be back shortly." "Okay," Sarah replied, her heart racing. The nurse's words jolted her back to the present. There was still the aching reality that her mother's health was deteriorating. Tom read her expression. "You okay to see her?" he asked quietly, concern etched into his features. Yes, she said, forcing herself to be brave. But that unyielding knot of anxiety twisted tighter. How could she juggle this while pondering the past? Why was everything coming at once? As they stepped into the room where her mother lay, Sarah's heart ached with love and fear. Would she have the strength to support her mother and confront her father at the same time? The pressure felt like a weighted blanket, stifling her breath. "Hey, Mom," she whispered, squeezing her mother's hand. "Hi, sweetie," her mother murmured, eyes flickering open. The warmth faded a little in Sarah's heart. Her mother's frail form reminded her how precious every moment was. Tears threatened to spill as she leaned in closer, deciding she needed her mother's wisdom now more than ever. "I'm trying to figure things out," she began, hesitation slipping from her voice. "About Dad coming back. What do you think I should do?" But just as her mother began to respond, a new message buzzed on her phone, an unexpected name flashing across the screen. In her gut, Sarah felt a twist that only heightened her uncertainty. What would the next message reveal about her tangled life? The phone buzzed again, breaking the silence that settled in the room. Sarah's eyes darted to the screen. A part of her wanted to ignore it, to focus on her mother instead of whatever distraction was calling out to her. But curiosity tugged at her. It wasn't just any name, it was a name that felt like a ghost from the past, haunting and familiar. She glanced at Tom, then back to the phone, her heart racing. I need to see this," she whispered, her fingers trembling as she picked it up. The screen displayed a message from Grace, an old friend from school. "Hey, just saw your dad in town. Let me know if you want the deets." Her breath caught in her throat. Grace had never been a close friend, but how could she be reaching out now? It felt like a throwback to a time she had tried to leave behind, a time when her family was whole, and the wounds of abandonment hadn't yet sliced through her heart. "Sarah? Everything okay?" Tom's voice pulled her back. The concern on his face mirrored her own turmoil. "It's just Grace," she murmured, feeling a mix of nostalgia and frustration. She put the phone down, silencing the urge to respond immediately. "Why now? Why this message? Is it about your dad?" Tom prodded gently. "Yeah, she saw him." Sarah sighed, running a hand through her hair. I don't even know how to feel about this. Is it good news or bad? It feels like he's really trying to push himself back into my life. Maybe it could help you understand more about what he's doing back in town, Tom offered, his eyes steady. But only if you want it to. You don't have to rush into anything. I know, she replied, the weight of his words sinking in. Feeling overwhelmed, she turned her attention back to her mother, who seemed to be drifting deeper into sleep, her fragile body rising and falling slowly. Mom, do you think it's worth talking to him? She asked softly, her voice trembling. What if he's only going to hurt me again? Her mother stirred slightly at the sound of her voice and opened her eyes again, glossed with fatigue but filled with warmth. Sarah, sweetheart, I can't tell you what to do, but sometimes facing the past is the way to move forward. It's how healing begins. Those words resonated within Sarah. Healing was something she had wished for, yet hadn't quite grasped how to attain. But what if it just opens up all the old wounds? She whispered, seeking reassurance in her mother's gaze. Sometimes, those wounds need to be aired out. Even the deepest ones. Her mother's voice trailed off, fatigue taking hold. As Sarah watched her mother's eyes flutter, she felt the familiar tightness in her chest. Her strength was dwindling. Each rising breath felt like a gift, and each whispered word was a fragile moment worth holding on to. Okay, I'll think about it, she promised, even though uncertainty gnawed at her. Just then, her phone vibrated once more, jarring her thoughts. The message preview read, "He's asking about you." Her breath hitched. Her father. The revelation ignited a mixture of fear, anger, and a flicker of hope within her. Tom, I think I need to respond to Grace, she said, hesitating as a wave of confusion washed over her. I'm so scared to find out what's really happening. He nodded, his eyes encouraging. You're not alone in this. Whatever you decide, I'm here. As she opened the message and began to type, a knot of emotions tangled within her. What would she discover if she followed this thread? In the quiet of the hospital room, Sarah suddenly felt the weight of her past and future collide. Was it time to reclaim her narrative, to take the first steps toward understanding? Just then, another message chimed, adding to her whirlwind of thoughts, it's urgent. You need to know. Her stomach dropped. What could be so important? What new revelations awaited her? Sarah's fingers hesitated above the screen. Time stretched as she totaled the uncertainty of what awaited her. The room felt charged, the air thick with tension. She exhaled slowly, trying to ground herself against the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside. Do I want to know what is going on? She murmured, almost to herself. Tom leaned closer, concern etching deeper lines across his forehead. Respond when you're ready, he said softly, but Sarah felt the weight of his encouragement behind those words. The gentle reminder of her strength lingered, igniting a flicker of resolve within her. Taking a breath, she finally tapped the message open. Grace's words filled the screen, simple yet loaded. I know things haven't been easy, but he really wants to talk to you. He has been asking about you for months. Months? The thought echoed in her mind. Why hadn't her father reached out directly? A mix of anger and vulnerability pulsed through her. She looked over at her mother again, wondering what layer of history lay buried beneath the surface of silence. Is your mom awake? Tom asked, sensing the shift in her emotions. No, she is still resting. The weariness etched in her mother's features was a harsh reminder of time turning against them. How much longer could they keep pretending that everything was fine? With a shaky breath, Sarah replied to Grace, typing, what does he want to talk about? She pressed send, the moment becoming a bridge between her past and a future she had long kept at bay. Have you thought about what you want to say? Tom's voice was gentle, yet probing. She frowned, feeling the heat prickling at her eyes. Not really. I guess I just don't know what I feel. It's complicated. Take even a moment to imagine what you'd want from him, if anything. What do I want? The question loomed large. Leaning back in her chair, the shadows of doubt lingered. Did she want forgiveness? An explanation? Or perhaps just recognition? Suddenly, another chime pulled her out of her spiraling thoughts. Grace's reply was immediate. He has something important to share, something he has never told you. The weight of those words fell on her like a thick blanket. What could he possibly reveal after all this time? Sarah. Tom's infusion of warmth broke through. What is it? I don't know. She exclaimed, the words bursting forth as waves of frustration rolled through her. Why now? Why does he want to share something so crucial just when things are falling apart? Maybe he feels he's running out of time, just as you're realizing you can't avoid this. Maybe he wants to make things right. Deep down, Sarah wanted to believe that. And what if it only complicates everything more? Her voice cracked, betraying her conflicting desires. Then you handle it. Just like you're handling everything now. You're strong enough to face him, whatever he brings. His words were a lifeline, tugging her toward a decision. The realization that she could choose how to respond pushed her fears back a little. Okay, she said softly, her resolve building. I have to know. I need to know. Before she could retreat, she typed back, I'll meet him. Where? With barely a moment to spare, her phone pinged again. He'll be at the diner on Maple. Tomorrow at noon. Don't be late. Tomorrow. Those few letters twisted in her heart, constructing a vision of the confrontation, the unanswered questions dancing behind her eyes. I did it, she said, voice trembling with the uncertain weight of her decision. I said yes. Tom smiled, admiration shining in his expression. You're brave, Sarah. No matter what happens, you're taking control. But excitement mingled with dread. Looking at the clock, she sensed that morning would come too fast, and the heaviness of the meeting loomed large. I hope he's ready, she whispered, mind racing as she pictured confronting her father. Would he have the answers she desperately sought? Or would he create more tears where healing was needed? As she prepared to leave the hospital room, another vibration startled her towards her phone. It was Grace again, bringing with it a sense of urgency. The message read, There's more I think you should know about your dad, it's important. Curiosity mingled with apprehension. What layer of revelations awaited her? What depths of pain or truths would she uncover? Sarah stared at the screen, anxiety pooling in her stomach, wondering if she should dive deeper into the history that lay ahead. Would light break through the shadows, or would the past swallow her whole? The night seemed to stretch endlessly as Sarah lay in her hospital bed, thoughts racing through her mind. She stared at the ceiling, replaying the messages and the looming meeting with her father. Every minute felt like an hour. Tom had stepped out to grab coffee, giving her a moment of solitude wrapped in uncertainty. It shouldn't have surprised her how much she found herself grappling with the past. All these years, she had expected the silence. It was easier than the chaos that came with it, but now, with her father's request hanging in the air, Sarah felt an electric charge of unresolved issues sparking to life. What had he kept hidden? What secrets could have lingered, dormant, between them all these years? Suddenly, a soft knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. A nurse entered, her clipboard in hand. Just checking on you, Sarah. How are you feeling? Okay, I guess, she replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask. Just okay. The nurse smiled knowingly. Don't worry, it's normal to feel a bit overwhelmed with everything that's going on. Do you think? Sarah asked, her voice softer than she intended. The nurse nodded earnestly. Absolutely. You're in control of your story now, and facing your father after all this time is huge. It takes a lot of courage. Courage. That was the word her mother had used 2 years ago when Sarah had first stood up against the unfairness that life threw her way. But courage felt heavy right now, like a burden she wasn't sure she could carry. After a few minutes, the nurse left, and the room fell back into silence. Sarah's mind wandered. Would she feel hurt, relief, or something else entirely when she finally faced her father? Tom returned, his hands full of coffee cups. "I brought you something too," he said, sliding a small pastry across the table. "Thought you could use a little comfort food before the big meeting." She smiled at the gesture, warmth blooming in her chest. "Thanks. You always know how to lift my spirits." Tom took a seat beside her, his expression growing serious again. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, a tremor in her voice. "But there's so much I need to ask him. So much I need to know." "Then ask. Don't hold back. You have the right to everything." "I know," she sighed. "But what if it opens up wounds that can't be healed?" Tom leaned forward, concern etched on his face. "Then you deal with them. You're not the same girl who fell silent all those years ago. You can face the truth." Her heart raced as she considered Tom's words. Suddenly, the looming meeting with her father transformed in her mind from a terrifying confrontation to an opportunity. As if reading her thoughts, Tom suggested, "What if you wrote down the questions you have? Sometimes writing them helps clarify what you need to say." With a hesitant nod, Sarah took her notebook from the bedside table and flipped to a blank page. It felt like the first step. Each word she wrote had weight, each question illuminated a darkness she had lived with for far too long. She started to scribble, "Why did you leave? Did you ever care? What secrets are you keeping from me?" Tears mingled with ink as she penned each question, a slow release of pent-up emotions. "What are you writing?" Tom asked, peering over her shoulder. "I'm not sure how to say what I need to say when I meet him. So I'm trying to organize my thoughts." "Good idea. You'll be ready," he said, confidence in his voice. When she finished, she looked at her list. The paper felt like an anchor in a stormy sea, but it also filled her with dread. The clock ticked on, each second drawing closer to noon. "What if I don't get the answers I need?" Tom took her hand. "You might not, but you'll still be strong enough to move forward." As his warmth surrounded her, Sarah closed her eyes, focusing on his words. But the unease bubbled inside her again, rising to the surface like a tidal wave. "Tomorrow is going to change everything, isn't it?" she whispered. Tom squeezed her hand tighter. "You'll find a path through this." Just then, her phone buzzed with another message. "Grace again." The vibrations buzzed with urgency, and Sarah could feel her heart race in response. What new revelation lay behind the screen? Feeling apprehensive but compelled, she grabbed it, glancing at the message. "It's about your father. I think you need to prepare yourself." Sarah's breath caught in her throat, eyes widening as a chilling uncertainty settled in her stomach. What did Grace know that could reshape everything? Suddenly, the weight of tomorrow felt heavier than ever. What truths awaited her that could either break her or set her free? With hands trembling, she stared at her phone screen, wondering how far the unrevealed rabbit hole went. The room felt stifling as Sarah sat still, the weight of the unread message pressing heavily against her chest. Did Grace have more secrets to share? Was her father tangled in something deeper than their fractured relationship? The anticipation clawed at her, and she could barely catch her breath. "Are you okay?" Tom's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts, drawing her back into the present moment. She couldn't hide the tremor in her voice when she answered. "I don't know, Tom. It feels like this is all spiraling out of control. What if I'm not ready for what's coming?" Panic bubbled up, fueling doubt and fear. He leaned closer, resting a hand on her knee. "You've faced worse, Sarah. This is your chance to reclaim the narrative of your life. Don't forget, you've already taken the first step by writing down your questions. That takes guts." She forced herself to breathe, drawing strength from his unwavering support. "What if Grace's message changes everything I think I know about him? What if it leads me to questions I'm not ready to face?" Tom nodded thoughtfully, his eyes locking onto hers. "Then you face them. Remember, no matter what, you're not alone in this. I'll be right there with you. His presence was an anchor, but the uncertainty gnawed at her. What could be more shocking than the void of silence left by years of abandonment? She opened Grace's message once more, the words now striking her like a cold wind. An anxiety-fueled decision burst forth within her. I need to talk to Grace, she declared, her voice steadier. I need to know what she means by preparing myself. Tom offered a supportive nod. Then do it. Now's the time for clarity. Fingers trembling slightly, Sarah typed a quick reply, asking Grace to meet her in the hospital lobby for a coffee. Almost immediately, her phone chimed back, confirming that she would be there in less than an hour. The promise of answers faded in and out, shrouded in apprehension and curiosity. Minutes felt like hours as she waited, staring out the window at the passing cars, clouds shifting from gray to hints of blue. Was tomorrow the day she would finally confront the shadows of her past? Or would it become another chapter in a long book of unanswered questions? When Grace finally arrived, Sarah's heart raced. The waitress held an air of urgency, her brows knitted in concern. As they settled at a small table in the lobby, Grace glanced around, ensuring their privacy before speaking. I'm glad you reached out, Grace began, lowering her voice. There is something important about your father that you need to know. Sarah leaned in, her stomach twisting into knots. What is it? Just tell me. Taking a deep breath, Grace hesitated, the weight of her words heavy on her shoulders. Your father, he didn't just leave because he wanted to. I found out he was tangled in something that went far deeper than family issues. It could change how you view everything about him. What do you mean? What kind of trouble? The urgency in Sarah's voice doubled, and she felt the room constricting around her. Grace glanced around again before continuing. He got involved in some dangerous situations. It's why he left and why he has been absent. Things he never wanted you to know. Sarah's heart raced, each beat echoing through her head with increasing tempo. Could it be true? Was he in trouble with the law? Debt? Or something more, sinister? The questions tumbled out, desperate for clarity. Grace shook her head. I can't say exactly. I just know that his life isn't what it seems. The flood of revelations washed over her, leaving Sarah trembling. Every assumption she held, every story she built up in her mind, crumbled into fragments. Grace, I need to know what else you found. I can't walk into this tomorrow without the truth. What if the truth shatters everything you believed about him? Grace's eyes held a mix of concern and resolve. Then at least I'll finally have answers, Sarah replied, voice firm but laced with doubt. I can't face him in the dark any longer. In that moment, she realized the kind of courage she needed wasn't about confronting her father, it was about confronting herself, the layers of her own truth buried deep under years of pain and silence. And as Sarah took a deep breath, ready to unravel the tangled web of family secrets, she knew the conversations with her father would no longer be simply about the past but about an uncertain future that was just beginning to unfold. What awaited her on the other side of those hospital doors? Would she be prepared for the truth that could redefine everything? The coffee shop hummed with the low chatter of patrons, but for Sarah, the din faded into murmurs. All she could focus on was Grace's words. Sarah could feel the weight of the world pulling at her. With every moment that passed, the urgency of their conversation pressed against her chest. Tell me everything, Sarah urged, her voice barely above a whisper. The eyes that had once brimmed with innocence now sparked with determination. She knew she was crossing into unfamiliar territory, but the need to uncover the truth was stronger than her fear. Grace took another breath, her eyes scanning the room before settling back on Sarah. I've done some digging. Your father wasn't just a regular guy with family issues. He was, well, let's say he was involved with some people who don't play by the rules. He wasn't just running from family, he was running from something much darker. What do you mean? Who were these people? Sarah's mind raced. The image of a distant father crumbled, a different picture was emerging from the shadows. Grace leaned in closer, almost conspiratorial. These people were connected to something dangerous. It's like he fell into a trap he couldn't escape from, and it made him vanish. I can't tell you all the details yet, but I've gathered evidence. Paperwork, some accounts, even his old contacts. It's all really messy. If you want the full picture, we have to meet again, somewhere more private. Between dread and betrayal, Sarah's heart raced. Why didn't you tell me this before? I've spent years thinking he just walked away. Anger surged within her, battling against the fear. Could she look at him the same way after knowing this? Grace pushed her cup away, eyes glowing with urgency. Because I wanted to be sure before I dumped this on you. I didn't want to make it worse without having something concrete. You're still his daughter, Sarah. I didn't want to ruin what little you had left of him in your thoughts. But now, you need to decide if you really want to know the truth or not. Sarah stared at her friend, anger simmering down, replaced by confusion. It was more than just a sense of betrayal, it felt like a personal crisis. If he did all of this, why would he never come back? Why leave me behind? Grace's face softened, and she hesitated. Fear. Guilt. You know, sometimes people don't come back because they're too ashamed to face their loved ones. But we can't dwell on that. You need to be ready. This isn't just about your father anymore, it's about your past, your future. Drawing in a shaky breath, Sarah nodded. Her heart was a cacophony of emotions, a blend of sorrow for the lost years, disgust at the secrets lurking beneath the surface, and determination to uncover the story woven within the shadows of her past. As the minutes ticked by, she glanced at the clock on the wall. The time to meet her father was closing in like a storm cloud. Then we meet again. Find somewhere secure. I need everything you can get. I'll do my best, Grace replied softly. But are you really ready to take this leap? Sarah looked up, her eyes blazing with a new resolve. I have to be. It's time I chased the truth rather than waited in the dark for it to find me. The waitress came over, her footsteps pulling Sarah momentarily from her thoughts. With a casual smile, she filled their cups, but her sharp gaze seemed to pick up on the tension swirling around the table. As she turned to leave, she paused. If you're going to dive into a rabbit hole, just remember some things are better left buried, she said, and there was a knowing gleam in her eye. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Why did it feel like this waitress knew more than she let on? The unease settled deep within her. What more could she discover about her father? And who else might know secrets worth revealing? The next chapter awaited her, and it loomed darker than she had anticipated. Would the revelations lead her to uncovering a truth that connected her with a world she had never wanted to know? Sarah's heart raced as she stood outside the diner, the familiar neon lights flickering uncertainly above her. Today was the day. The day she would face her father, and the day the tangled threads of her past might finally weave together. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the choices before her. Tom was right by her side, his presence a comforting reminder that she wasn't alone. You're ready for this, Sarah. Just speak from the heart, he said, his warm smile illuminating her anxiety. With a nod, she stepped inside, the smells of fried food and fresh coffee swirling around her. The diner wasn't just a workplace, it was a part of her identity, her refuge amidst chaos. The familiar clatter of dishes felt oddly grounding. Today, though, she was there for a different reason. As she scanned the bustling room, her gaze landed on a figure sitting at a booth in the back, a man with a head of tousled hair, his gaze locked on the table. For a moment, time froze. Was that him? Her father. He looked older, worn down by years of absence, sadness enveloping him like a shroud. Every step she took felt heavier as she approached, her heart thundering in her chest. She could feel Tom's supportive presence behind her, silently urging her forward. Dad? Her voice barely broke through the din, tinged with disbelief. He looked up slowly, shock and recognition washing over his features. Sarah, the tremor in his voice struck deep, wrapping around old wounds. She hadn't spoken that name to him in years. Why now? Why after all this time? She demanded, anger bubbling on the surface, ready to spill over. Sarah, please, just let me explain, he said, the plea in his eyes creating a softening in her heart. As she slid into the booth opposite him, every question from the depths of her soul burst forth. Did you even care? What were you running from? His eyes flickered with pain, shadows dancing across his face. It's complicated, he admitted, the words heavy with regret. I made mistakes. I thought about you every day. Sarah felt the walls she built around her heart tremble. Complicated doesn't cut it. You were a ghost, leaving us without answers, making me carry all that weight. I know. His voice cracked, and suddenly, he was just a father, a flawed, broken man who made choices she couldn't understand. I was in over my head. There were things I couldn't tell you, things I thought would put you in danger. Danger? What do you mean? She searched his face, desperate for the truth. I was involved with the wrong people, and I thought it was safer for you not to know. I chose silence over your safety. His words hung between them, heavy and stark. The truth was finally surfacing tonight. Revelations weren't the fairy tale she had dreamed of, but they built a bridge over decades of silence. Did you ever love us? Was it all just a lie? She pressed, letting the anger and hurt spill freely now that the facade began to crack. I loved you with everything I had, he said, his voice raw with emotion. But I thought leaving was the right thing. I thought you would be better off. I was a coward. As his confession unfolded, a tangle of emotions churned within Sarah. Confusion. Anger. A yearning to understand. But above all, there was something that felt like healing. A soft tear escaped her eye, and she blinked it back. You made it impossible for me to love you, too. I know I have a long way to go, he nodded, his eyes glimmering with unshed tears. But I want to try. If you'll let me. The air shifted around them, and Sarah felt the weight of her own decisions pressing down on her heart. Could she actually allow herself to move forward? Could she give him a chance to rebuild what had been lost? With Tom's reassuring presence thrumming in the background, a real light shone through the shadows of the past. Let us start by asking questions, Sarah said, determination lacing her voice. No more hiding, Dad. I need answers. And as they began to unravel the threads of their shared history, Tom remained nearby, offering quiet strength. Together, father and daughter faced the ghosts of yesterday, starting down a path toward healing that still lay ahead. With each truth uncovered, Sarah felt a sensation. She thought she'd lost hope. Hope that maybe she could learn to forgive. That this painful conversation might be the dawn of something new, a chance for a family forged anew through honesty and vulnerability. As they spoke, laughter mingled with tears, a sign that genuine connection was possible even in the wake of chaos. The diner buzzed around them, an unsung hero witnessing their reunion. Thank you for coming today, her father said finally, his voice a whisper. This means the world to me. To us, Sarah corrected gently, realizing everything had shifted. She was no longer destined to carry her burdens alone. With Tom waiting just outside their little bubble, Sarah felt ready to dive into this unpredictable journey together. As the final thought settled in Sarah's heart, there remained a challenge echoing within her. A realization that every step forward was a choice. A chance to build her own narrative, one rooted in love and healing, rather than pain. Remember this pivotal moment as your own journey unfolds. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support more heartfelt transformations like this one. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your words matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.